Hello, everybody. So good to be back. I've been gone for a couple weeks. I was on vacation. Went down to Norfolk, Virginia, and Virginia Beach for a few days, and we drove down to Myrtle Beach. Luckily, we did that when we did because with all this weather, we did have to drive through West Virginia, which has had some pretty big floods. So I'm glad we did it when we did and that we're back. So I do have to say real quick, the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service now presents a reading of articles and features from the New York Times. Saturday, July 25th, 2026. Your reader is Joe Gibbs. Hope everybody's doing good. I'm glad to be back. Let me wet the whistle here, get some Pepsi Zero, Cherry Pepsi Zero. Hold on. Great. So I played a little in the very beginning, Metallica. And why did I play a little Metallica? I'm sure you're all asking, why did he play Metallica? Well, I'm going to tell you right now. Played some Metallica because that is the music trivia of the day, which I will give an answer at the end of the day. Metallica, of all bands, love them, hate them, whatever, they have completed something no other band has ever done. Not the Beatles, not Genesis, not Fleetwood Mac, not Billy Joel. All the top ones have never done this. No other band has done what Metallica has done. And what is it? Does anyone know without Googling it? Without asking, hey, everybody has those speaker things in the house where you just ask Siri or whatever it is, Alexa, how about, does anyone just know that answer? What is one thing Metallica did that no other band ever has completed? And we'll find out what that answer is in about another 55 minutes. So think it over. Try not to Google. You'll be surprised. It's a pretty good fact, actually. All right, so what do we have here? It's been so long. I'm kind of glad I'm back. Take a look at the New York Times. All right. So, there's a little article here that says, measles cases, highest level in 2 decades. The measles. Who would have thought? The measles. Yes, the measles cases, highest level in 2 decades. Says the United States has now recorded more cases of measles in 2026 than in any other year since the virus declared eliminated in 2000. A grim sign that the country may be headed toward a new era in which disease regularly sickens thousands every year. Doesn't disease normally sicken thousands every year? Might not be the measles, but there's something. On Friday, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention announced that there have been 2,318 confirmed cases of measles so far this year. The case count toppled the record set last year when measles infected more than 2,200 Americans and killed 2 unvaccinated children. More measles cases have been reported in the United States in the last 2 years than in all years from 2000 through 24 combined. Reversing course on measles would require a nationwide push to improve vaccination rates, a prospect that experts have seemed unlikely under the leadership of Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He has halted funding for vaccine hesitancy research, downplayed risks of measles, and spearheaded a hunt for evidence that vaccines are unsafe. In November, a panel of international experts will meet to determine whether the United States has lost its elimination status, which has long been viewed as, and let me switch the page, people. One of the country's crowning public health achievements. Oh, all right. This is just going to keep happening, said Jennifer Nuzzo, director of Pandemic Center at the Brown University School of Public Health. It's going to mean living in perpetual state of vulnerability and risk until we get vaccination levels up. Many of the cases reported this year were tied to a large outbreak in South Carolina, where we just were, that took root last October in a close-knit evangelical Slavic community and quickly became the largest outbreak in the U.S. since 2000. The outbreak, which ultimately sickened nearly 1,000 people, was declared over by state officials in April. Still, the virus is far from contained. Utah is fighting an outbreak that began along its border with Arizona last summer and has led to more than 700 cases spread across every jurisdiction in the state. Virginia health officials have reported more than 170 cases from an outbreak that began in mid-May, and Pennsylvania is grappling with an outbreak that has sickened more than 100 people this year. In total, the CDC has reported 35 new measles outbreaks this year. A vast majority of cases have been in people who were unvaccinated or whose vaccine status was unknown. The string of outbreaks is no surprise to public health experts who have watched vaccination rates tick down in recent years. Nationally, the measles vaccination rate fell during the COVID-19 pandemic and has not rebounded to the 95% required to stem the spread of measles virus in the community. I was thinking that too, because with all the vaccinations you have to do for COVID and all that back then, and people were like, yes, I'm getting vaccinated, no, I'm not getting vaccinated. You could almost see people putting a halt on all of that. And I'm willing to bet you that that didn't help this situation, that now it is making a comeback. There's no doubt about it. The United States is not the only country grappling with the measles resurgence. Canada, which lost its elimination status last year, has reported more than 1,000 cases this year. Health officials in Bangladesh confirmed more than 8,000 infections since March. Still, several experts said the Trump administration's response, which has not included any national push to increase vaccination rates, has done the United States no favors. Courtney Spencer, a spokeswoman for the Department of Health and Human Services, said the department has mounted an aggressive outbreak response and pointed to the $8.5 million it has given states to help contain outbreaks and the technical assistance that the CDC has provided to those areas. She added that the department has said, referring to the vaccine against measles, mumps, and rubella, that MMR vaccination remains the best protection against measles. Dr. Jonathan Temte, a former chairman of CDC's Vaccine Advisory Committee, said, "We have seen virtually no national messaging. We've seen no ad campaigns," he added. "I think that really tells us something about their priorities." Get your shots done, people. Well, you know, like when it comes down to, I don't do the flu shot or none of that. I got the flu shot one time, right? One time. And I was sick all winter, and that was it. I never did it again. I don't know if there's any connection. Probably not, right? But it was enough coincidence to me that I thought, I'm never doing it again. And I don't. I did the vaccines for the pandemic. You know, I did both of those. I had my card in my wallet. But other than that, I do the vaccines I need normally when you go to the doctors. I don't do any extras. So, there's that. All right, what we have here now. A headline from history, July 25th of 1983. Baseball games often end with a home run, but until yesterday, the team that hit the home run always won. At Yankee Stadium yesterday, the team that hit the home run lost. Murray Chase reported in the Times, acting on a protest from Yankees manager Billy Martin, the umpires erased a 2-run home run hit by Royals' George Brett with 2 outs in the ninth. His bat was ruled illegal because it had pine tar. Oh, yeah. I remember the old pine tar. George Brett lost his tree. I remember that. So the rule was the pine tar, the substance ball players use for grip, more than 18 inches from the handle. Brett was called out, turning a Kansas City lead into a New York victory 4-3. Enraged by the decision, Brett charged out of the dugout and started a dust-up that still replayed on baseball broadcasts. I remember that. The American League ruled that Brett should have not been called out, and the teams finished the ninth inning August 18th. Final 5-4 Royals. They got lucky. Okay. Might we suggest 4 weekend recommendations from around the newsroom? Who better to examine the life of Bruce Springsteen than the boss himself? For the book review, Elizabeth Egan recommended several celebrity memoirs that are narrated by the stars themselves. That's cool. Listen to the Lena Dunham's creative process in Famesick, or laugh at Tina Fey's insights in Bossy Pants. Here's at NewYorkTimes.com-books. And that was a number 1 recommendation, lending an ear. Number 2 is finding your roots. You don't have to book a flight to find true respite. Botanical gardens across the country are extending their hours and unveiling new attractions in an effort to provide city dwellers an escape from it all. Gabe Castro Root reported, at one such garden in Phoenix, visitors can expect nighttime light shows and even yoga classes. Isn't it time you took in the scenery at NewYorkTimes.com-travel? Isn't it? Number 3, hiding under the covers. Looking for chills and thrills this weekend? You've come to the right place. Every month, Eric Piepenberg compiles 5 horror movies with streaming. His most recent included Obsession, a thriller about a relationship gone catastrophically wrong. If you're thirsting for something a little tamer, try The Fuzzies. The Fuzzies have to be tamer. You can't name something called The Fuzzies and it be bad. The Fuzzies, a horror comedy about a group of friends who are haunted by an unlikely villain. Getting the creeps already? Don't say we didn't warn you. NewYorkTimes.com-movies. The Fuzzies. Checking your feeds. Jimothy, a stout raccoon with a spinal condition in Seattle. Who thought of that? Jimothy, a stout raccoon with a spinal condition in Seattle, has taken social media by storm. Videos of Jimothy show him perched on fences and running through neighborhoods. I think worldwide right now in a lot of ways with everything that we're experiencing and seeing, one Seattle resident told the Styles section. He's a story of surviving when things maybe aren't quite right. Perhaps that's a message we could all take to heart. See Jimothy in action at NewYorkTimes.com-styles. Sip time. All right, facts of interest. A recent Gallup poll found that Democrats and Republicans alike would oppose the construction of a data center in their neighborhood, with many citing concerns about the potential noise, pollution, and energy and water usage. The yield on the 10-year Treasury bond, considered one of the most important interest rates in the world, jumped this week to 4.7%, up from less 4% before the start of the war in Iran. U.S. producers now supply about 2/3 of European liquefied natural gas, a share that could rise to as much as 80% by the end of the decade. Where's that money going? The Baked Potato. Los Angeles' longest-running jazz club has remained virtually unchanged since 1970, when it opened as a late-night hangout for session players. That's cool. The Baked Potato. LeBron James, who's 41, who agreed to join the Philadelphia 76ers on a 2-year, $8 million deal, has averaged at least 20 points per game in each of his record 23 seasons in the NBA. That is good. That's pretty good. All right, now I'm here to help you. I am here to help. I'm a helper. Okay? Here to help. 5 films to stream before they leave Netflix in August. Oh, my Lanta. So, for 48 Hours, Eddie Murphy was an up-and-coming stand-up and Saturday Night Live performer when director Walt Hill paired him with Nick Nolte for this action hit from 1982 that set the template for the buddy comedies that dominated the 80s and 90s cinema. Murphy's streetwise, wisecracking persona steals the show, particularly in an uproarious scene in a country western bar in which you watch Murphy turning into a movie star before your eyes. August 1st, people. Get there before August 1st and catch 48 Hours. Atonement, August 1st. Ian McEwan's 2001 novel tells a story in 3 periods: before the World War II, in the midst of bloodshed, and decades later, tracing how a young woman's lie disrupts several lives, and hers besides James McAvoy, Keira Knightley, are swoon-worthy as romantic leads, but the breakup performer here is Saoirse Ronan, whose month's work in the central role was a fine indication of the brilliant performer she would become. That is Atonement, August 1st, people. Splash, August 1st. Ron Howard solidified his transition to directing with this 1984 hit, which became the breakthrough picture for Tom Hanks and Daryl Hannah. Daryl Hannah. Hanks stars in this literal fish-out-of-water story as a New Yorker who meets the girl of his dreams, Hannah, only discovering now she's a mermaid, because that happens on a daily. Hanks and Hannah generate considerable chemistry as romantic leads, but 2 SCTV vets, Eugene Levy and John Candy, steal the show. Remember John Candy? Wasn't he just the best? John Candy was so nice. He was a big old bear. He was a big old bear, John Candy. How do you not love John Candy? He was really good in all his movies. No, here's another one. Cop Shop, August 10th. This 2021 action thriller plays like a 21st century riff on John Carpenter classic Assault on Precinct 13. Similarity confining its action to a middle-of-nowhere police station. The primary conflict is between fixer Teddy Moretto, which is Frank Grillo, on the run from the mob, and hired killer Bob Vidic, Gerard Butler, who fakes a drunken driving arrest so he can follow Teddy into the can and kill him. Things get considerably more complicated from there. Cop Shop, August 10th. Cop Shop. And then Boy Erased, August 16th. Nicole Kidman and Russell Crowe take on roles as parents who try to reconcile their Christian faith with the coming out of their son, Lucas Hedges, and there's a picture of him above, by placing him in a conversion therapy, adapting the Gerard Conley memoir. Joel Egerton wrote the script, directed, and co-stars as Mr. Sykes, the director of the Love in Action program, where the faith-based approach gives way to abuse. That's Boy Erased. Boy Erased. Make sure you watch that by August 16th. Think of him going back to any of these. I think 48 Hours is worth a look. And, there's Atonement. I've never seen that. That might be a good movie. Tell you what is good. Pepsi Cherry Zero. Sure is. Delicioso. Yeah. What else do we have here? Have any of you figured out what did Metallica do? No other band in history. Do you have any idea how many bands there are and were? I mean, and think of all the good ones. You know, back in the 60s, 70s, all these good bands. Chicago, Boston, Aerosmith, Journey, REO Speedwagon, all these bands. And none of them did what Metallica did. What is it, people? And don't Alexa it or Google it. Do you know it or not? If not, you'll find out in another 30-something minutes. So take it easy. Get a grip, people. You know, the national news, it's just not really fun. It's not very light, you know. What is this? Oh, this is perfect article for me, I think. Even though I'm a Pepsi Zero drinker, but you know, with Coke, the only Coke, I mean, I love Coca-Cola if it's just the regular Coca-Cola with all the sugar, which I'm not supposed to have. But I do love regular good old bottle of Coke, you know, the bear sliding down at Christmas time and all that good stuff. That's delicious. I'm not supposed to have it, but that's delicioso. Have a Coke and a smoke. A redo recalls Marlboro. What is this article about? Coca-Cola, one of the world's most recognizable brands, is in need of a cold one. A fridge cigarette, if you will. The 140-year-old soda giant this week introduced a new brand and identity meant to unify its storied look across 200 global markets. But a new typeface the company plans to use in conjunction with the rebrand stopped some observers in their tracks when it flashed across the screen in a splashy new video. Several online commentators said this new font and shades of white and red are clearly the same one used on packs of Marlboro cigarettes. Oh, yeah. All right, who cares? Soda is a new cigarette, after all, said others. But graphic designers and it says graphic designers and typographers said that to the trained eye, the two fonts were quite different, and that may seem like a branding snafu is just a symptom of overuse of the fonts, characterized by their thin lines with flourishes of or feet like Times New Roman by nostalgia-obsessed brands like Graza, Schweppes, and Vacation Sunscreen. Even the State Department recently made the switch from sans serif to serif type. Who cares what font they're using? Obviously, they're not using a cigarette font to sell Coca-Cola. Do they need to, right? I mean, this really doesn't make a lot of sense that they're even concerned about that. Yeah, let me see here. James Edmondson, who owns Onotype in San Jose, Cali, said observers are drawing comparisons from brand memory, but not from font accuracy. While the better with type shares some similarities, Marlboro's Neo Contact is far more condensed or compressed horizontally, he said. Additionally, he said the Ceres of the current Marlboro logotype feature devastatingly handsome slab Ceres, substantial terminals smacked on with no curved transition or bracket. Coke Ceres, on the other hand, are brackets. Every corner is slightly rounded. I can't believe they're even writing about that. So basically, people are complaining that Coke is trying to use Marlboro's font. It ain't going to be why they sell more Coke. They're selling Coke because it is scrumptious delicious. That's why. Yep. The fact that is such an iconic product and has attracted such a huge amount of criticism over the years, reaching back to its origins with a small amount of cocaine is what accounts for the mountain being made of such a molehill, he said. Yeah, remember that? I heard that Coca-Cola actually had a small amount. I don't know if it ended up being true or not. That it had a little cocaine in the pop. I don't know. You know what I am going to see? We were talking about movies. I'm going to check out that Odyssey. Matt Damon, Odyssey. That should be cool. You know, did anybody see this or hear about this story? It's not in the paper here, but we were talking about it yesterday. A school district just bought a $60,000 like AI robot to help in the classroom. But they are trying to say that they're not going to replace teachers. I think they are eventually. And why would you need why would you need anything like that? You know, these teachers have those screens in the internet. You can Google more facts about what you're teaching the kids and watch the videos and someone speaking about it. If you really wanted to go in depth on it, you don't need to pay $60,000 for a robot. And who knows what that robot is tracking and doing or videoing. Who knows? I don't think it's needed. I mean, back in the Stone Ages when I went to school, we had notebooks. The teacher had chalk and a blackboard, and we had textbooks. We didn't have any of this garbage they have now. We didn't have any of that. We had encyclopedias. You had one article on the thing that you were trying to do a project on. One article. Now, I don't even think kids leave school with a half a brain because they can Google their homework. How hard is it? You can get a paper written for you. And then they graduate. I don't know. It's a big cluster, people. All right, let's go into some financials or some business news. See if there's anything in here worth it. All right. This says EU says TikTok exposed children to dangers. The European Commission on Friday said it found TikTok had not adequately protected children's privacy rights on its platform by allowing adults to view the accounts of minors. The action exposed children to cyberbullying, unwanted contact, and predatory behavior, Commission spokesman Thomas Regnier said. Children's content must never be visible to strangers. He said, if TikTok does not take steps called by the European Union's landmark Digital Services Act, minors are exposed to predators, to grooming, and to cyberbullying. Regnier said, adding that children 13 to 15 can easily change their accounts from private to public, and the private accounts of minors aged 16 to 17 can be seen by anyone on the internet. We do not accept this, Reiner said. Putting default settings for minors is not a beauty contest under the DSA. It must be effective. The internet's a weird thing. You're going to let your kids do it. You never know. You really never know who's looking at it, who's doing anything. This isn't all just for the app to fix. What about the parents? The parents have lost control. There's no control with the parents. Their kids are young and online, and they're doing wacky videos, and they're cool, and they're introducing themselves to a lot of trouble. That's all I'm saying. Amex. Second quarter profits rise on higher spending. Credit card giant American Express said its second quarter profits rose 8% from a year earlier, helped by higher spending by its card members, fewer delinquencies, and more customers signing up for its premium products like the Platinum Card, and the Gold Card. The New York-based company said Friday it earned $3.11 billion, or $4.53 a share, compared to $2.89 billion, or $4.08 a share, in the same period a year earlier. The results beat analyst forecasts, who were looking for Amex to earn a profit of $4.40 a share, according to FactSet. And Amex continues to benefit from global economic growth that has disproportionately benefited the wealthy and high net worth individuals, as its customer base skews heavily towards those demographics with the Platinum Card, Gold Card, and other high-end credit cards. The average Amex customer spent $67.59 on their cards in the quarter. Mamma mia. Mamma mia. Verizon lifts forecast after Google fiber deal. Verizon raised its annual adjusted profit forecast on Friday and said it had secured a more than $1 billion deal with Google to provide dark fiber connectivity for its data centers. More agreements are expected by the year end that could generate multiple billions of dollars in revenue over the next several years. Verizon's chief executive Dan Schulman said on a post-earnings call, the AI infrastructure build-out is opening a new avenue for telecom operators to monetize their fiber networks as hyperscalers seek their capacity connectivity between data centers. Verizon is in strategic transition under Mr. Schulman, rolling out simplified mobile plans, a new loyalty program, and bundled wireless broadband offers to improve customer additions after trailing rivals. The company said it gained 184,000 monthly bill-paying wireless subscribers in the second quarter. Wow. Imagine having a company and you gain 184,000 customers in 3 months. I'd be good with that. Stocks and bonds. Oil prices waver as Gulf ship traffic falls to a low. Global oil prices seaweed on Friday as investors fretted about whether the widening war in the Middle East could throttle energy shipments from the region indefinitely. Shipping traffic to the Strait of Hormuz, a critical choke point in the Persian Gulf, on Thursday fell in the lowest level in more than 2 months. The Iranian-backed Houthi militia group has threatened to blockade Saudi ships taking an alternate route in the Red Sea, forcing a number of vessels to reverse course. Oil prices fluctuate. The price of Brent crude, the global benchmark for oil, fell 3.9% to 96.78 a barrel on Friday. Earlier in the day, crude rose above 101, up nearly 40% since the start of the war. On Thursday, Brent crude topped $100 a barrel for the first time since May. West Texas Intermediate crude, the U.S. benchmark, fell 3.1% to around 89.31 a barrel. Shipping traffic in the Middle East has slowed to a trickle as fighting in and around the Persian Gulf has intensified. Only 6 ships passed through the Strait of Hormuz on Thursday, according to Kpler, a maritime data firm. That was the lowest level since early May. Over the past week, traffic through the strait has been roughly 1/10 of what it was before the start of the war. Stocks are mixed. The S&P 500 ended the day flat after Thursday's decline, cementing its second consecutive weekly fall. The Stoxx 600, a broad index of European companies, rose 0.8%. Stocks in Asia were down after a sell-off in the U.S. markets. Stocks in Asia fell on Friday following a sell-off in the U.S. markets over soaring oil prices.